Grand Risings, brothers and sisters, beautiful people. How's everybody doing out there? It's early in the morning here. You know, I say Grand Rising because I notice more and more all of this stuff in our language. You know, the sun rises and then we're conditioned to call that morning, which phonetically is the same as what you do when you're grieving. Why would we grieve at the rise of the sun, at the return of the light? Catch my drift? So, in case you're wondering why I'm trying to make that transition, it's a habit, you know, to say these things. And with other things we say like, hell yeah, right? Why are we saying yes to hell? We should say no to hell. If anything, heaven's yes, right? Little things like this. And that's a tangent. Let's get to the topic. All right. So something kind of came through to me this morning and relevant to experiences I've been having recently. And it was a song that just came on. I just heard, it's Bill Withers, man. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. You know, I was just at my favorite coffee shop and that song came on. I got this little download idea. So, all right. So the topic here, you guys, is that female attraction when you're on semen retention is a test. Female attraction is a test. Your attraction to them, also a test. You know, like it goes both ways. When you notice that they're attracted to you, and you know, sometimes women can be very sneaky, right? Like they're not as obvious as we are a lot of times. Like they're checking you out when they know you're not looking, and they're really good at like hiding it better than we are, at least in my opinion. But a lot of times too, you know, they make it very obvious and they kind of follow you around and ask you a million questions, and they get nervous around you. You notice these things, especially when you're on semen retention, because not only are you glowing, shining different, you're not in that twisted mentality that most men are still in, and you're more innocent. You just, if anything, you want to make them laugh. You know, you want to make them smile, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. That's it. You don't have any intentions beyond that, because you're committed to yourself now. You're committed to God, right? So it's a whole new world. And of course they pick up on that, and makes them feel safe, and they like that. So they want to be around you. And then you notice that. And then the mind comes in, the ego comes in, you know, the temptations of the flesh come in. Some of your old self starts to come back. But it's just a test, right? And it's a beautiful thing, actually. It's a beautiful thing. Like these things aren't here to like frustrate us. They're here to help us. This all happens for us, right? And so one thing, it's one thing when a female is kind of pursuing you when you're on semen retention, and you have a choice to make. You know, you can go back to the old ways, or you can stay on the path, right? It's two choices you have there. And then the same goes for like, you may find yourself attracted to certain females. And you know now that you have this confidence that, and you're not afraid, right? You're not afraid of women anymore because you're not attached to results. You're not trying to get anything. You're living in faith, right? So it's like, you know, you could go there. You could ask her on a date. You know, you could probably take her home, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But it stops being about that completely. And that's a gift. That's liberation. That's freedom. It's a beautiful thing. So one of the reasons why this is so important, so these tests, you guys, like, it's just like school, right? Like what happens when you pass a test in school, right? You level up. Every time you pass a test, you level up. So the more tests you're getting, you know, it's like every test that you get, a great strategy to employ on this path is to thank God for every test that you're sent. thank him, because that's, I look at it like this, because I'm a weightlifter. It's like, I can't get stronger without lifting heavier weights. Like at a certain point, the same weight that I was lifting starts to feel too easy and it's not really growing me. Feel me? Then I gotta add weight to the bar. I gotta keep adding weight to the bar if I wanna get stronger. And so as a weightlifter, it's like, I'm not like mad at the weights. I love the weights. And so you can apply that same mentality to the tests, including female attraction, including, and a lot of it's like, basically the temptation is not just lust, right? It's like vanity too. It's pride. It's all this egotistical stuff. Because the mind has its higher and its lower natures, right? And that's even represented like, and it's funny the words they use, right? They call it the reptilian brain, like the limbic system, the primitive brain, right? The most primal part of your brain, because that's the part of your brain that like literal lizards have that too. And when they get scared, they either run and hide, or they fight or flight, or freeze, or they freeze, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. It's like the lizard reptilian brain. Isn't that funny they call it that, right? But then there's your frontal cortex, right? And that's the part of your brain that's active when you are thinking logically, right? So we got to be thinking logically out here. So we can't be in that lower portion of our brain. That lower portion of our brain gets activated when we are in these lower vibrational states, like fear and lust. And you see like the vanity and all of these things, they lead us into forms of fear that then diminish our ability to think properly and clearly. And so we can't be effective in the world. We can't be effective at achieving our goals if our mind power is diminished, right? So that's why this is very important. So recently, I've been having a lot of tests in the areas of female attraction, because I went through this really dark period and I was in self-destruct mode. I went through a really bad breakup, all this stuff, and my vibration was down and I was, deteriorating, and people didn't want to be around me. Certain people did. Low vibrational people totally wanted to be around me. They wouldn't leave me alone. And now that I've made this transformation through the power of Christ, the Most High God, people want to be around me. High vibe people really want to be around me, man. They just love me. And I'm getting all this attention. When I go out somewhere, it's like everybody like looks at me. I get stared at. Women get nervous, I enjoy that. I get a kick out of it, when a cute girl gets nervous around me. I can't help it. It's great. And I just like I said, I just want to make them laugh. That's it. And I walk away. And I feel like a lot of times I leave them, they're confused. They're like frustrated. They're like, we were clearly vibing. Why did this guy not ask me on a date? Like, why didn't he do what other guys do? Like, and the thing is, it's like, for me, man, I mean, I'm not willing to compromise what I've gained through all of this discipline for a temporary experience. And the other thing about that's really important, you guys, to understand is that, as we progress on the semen retention path, on the celibacy path, and like it's chosen one stuff. Like you've been chosen for this. And so we've got to walk this straight and narrow path. So it's like the transition that happens. See, because before we knew this, before we were on this path, before God called us to this path, we were fixated on the flesh, on the surface, on the temporal, on the physical. We were in that lustful programming, right? So we were very quick to fail the same tests that we're now passing. We got some attention from a female, she was looking good, we were real quick to smash. I mean, that was like the goal, like smash. It was like fucking robots, just smash, smash, smash. Because we think that's what like a man does or something. We were so wrong. problem is, when you have that intimate exchange of a person, when you penetrate a woman on that level, you form a soul tie. Your two individual souls are now kind of intertwined. And now you're sharing some of each other's, let's call it karma in this case. No, I'm a Christian, and the Bible doesn't necessarily use the word karma, but I do believe that's what, sin and repentance, and, when you suffer as a consequence of your own sin, that's karma, right? And we can reverse that process by living in obedience, obviously. So you get intertwined with this soul, and you don't know who else they're intertwined with. So now you're kind of intertwined with everybody that they're intertwined with. And if this person so happens to be infected with negative spirits, like generational curses, weird things like this, now you are sharing those things with them, and they're going to affect your life the way it's affecting their life. Okay? And we don't want that. We want to be free of all of that, right? We want to be very intentional. So the thing is like, lately, I get all this attention from women, but I don't pursue any of it. None of it, man. And actually, it's like, the more attention I get, the more I feel compelled to go back into solitude and be alone. So I do most things alone these days, and I really prefer it. And that's I'm going to stick to this for a while, because I'm getting in my alone time. That's when I'm building my relationship with God, right? And that's the relationship I'm in right now. It's like, I don't have room for another relationship. I don't have room for a female in my life right now, because I know that that's going to demand a certain level of energy from me that I'm not willing to expend, because I'm too busy cultivating my relationship with God and myself, and learning about God and myself. That's the primary relationship that I'm in. And so until I find, or until a woman finds me, until this happens naturally in God's divine timing, my hands are off the matter, my hands are off the steering wheel in that regard, because I'm just cruising towards the kingdom of heaven. That's where I'm headed. And it has to be like this. Like, we have to be tested in order to grow, just like we have to have the resistance in the gym to grow our muscles. We have to have this resistance in life.